Publius Claudius Pulchrus is one of the major anti-heroes of Roman history. This representative of the ancient patrician family Claudius was elected consul in 249 BC at the height of the First Punic War. The main hostilities unfolded in Sicily, where the Romans were besieging the Carthaginian city of Lilybaeum on the west of the island. The siege was very difficult and incomplete, because from the sea, Lilibaeus was supported by a strong Punic fleet, standing in the port of Drepana, located to the north. Pulchrus decided to put an end to this. He ordered to use the effect of surprise and attack the enemy fleet trapped in the harbor. Before the battle, by ancient tradition, resorted to auspices, that is, divination. The augurs took out on the deck of the flagship a cage with chickens, poured feed near the cage, and opened the door. The chickens cautiously began to leave the cage, but instead of pouncing on the grain, they began to squeak and beat their short wings. This was a bad sign. The behavior of the birds did not bode well for the Romans. The augurs understood this perfectly well, and Pulchrus was certainly aware of it. But the consul was adamant. If they don't want to eat, let them drink, and pushed the chickens into the sea. The battle became inevitable, but the effect of surprise was not realized. Carthaginian commander Atarbal, having seen the Roman fleet shown at Drepana, ordered his ships to leave the harbor to meet the enemy and build in a line. What happened next? Carthaginian squadron had time to build in battle order. The Roman squadron did not. It turned out that the Carthaginian ships lighter and more maneuverable than the Roman, and Carthaginian teams more experienced. All this probably was a surprise for not believing in omens Publius Claudius Pulchrus. Here's how the ancient Greek historian Polybius describes the course of the battle. At first the battle was equal, because on both sides fought the best soldiers of the land army. However, more and more the preponderance tilted to the side of the Carthaginians, because their position in the whole affair was much more favorable than the enemy. Thanks to a better arrangement of ships and the dexterity of rowers, they far surpassed the enemy in the speed of movement. Much helped them and the setting of their fleet in the open sea. Indeed, whether their ships were crowded by the enemy, they quickly and safely retreated to an open place. They then turned their ships back against the enemy, came forward. They or quickly rounded them, or attacked them from the side. While the Roman ships, at its heaviness and ineptitude of the team, turned with difficulty, Carthaginian gave them continuous blows, and many sunk. With this state of affairs, the outcome of the sea battle was a foregone conclusion. The only thing that remained pulled crew to flee with the remnants of the fleet. In general, the position of the Romans in this battle was very unfavorable, continues Polybius. At the sight of how some ships landed on the shoal, others thrown ashore, the consul decided to flee, and from the left flank was sneaking near the shore with 30 ships, which happened to be near him. Other ships in the number of 93 took possession of the Carthaginians, as well as all their crew. Squadron Publius Claudius Pulchrus was sunk in pieces. Survived only the ships that were in the rearguard. Pulchrus also managed to escape. It was the largest defeat of the Roman fleet in the First Punic War. What is interesting, Pulchrus, as if he did not realize the shame that fell on his head, did not realize that he made a grave mistake, costing hundreds of lives, when hastily began to enter the battle of the Roman ships, that he had committed sacrilege by not giving importance to the divination with chickens, although at that time not giving importance to auspices was tantamount to a serious crime. The senators announced this crime to Pulchrus and demanded that he appoint a dictator to continue the war with Carthage. This decision could only be taken by the consul. Publius Claudius did appoint a dictator, but it was like a mockery and an insult to all the Roman people, because in the dictatorship was nominated a simple messenger, a freedman named Gletius. The Senate, of course, did not accept this nomination. Pulchrus was fined and sent into exile. 3 years later, abandoned by everyone, he supposedly committed suicide. However, in the family of Claudius were much more worthy individuals. The name of Appius Claudius the Blind comes to mind. After Pyrrhus of Epirus trampled the Roman army with elephants at the Battle of Heraclea, he sent ambassadors to Rome with an offer of peace. Many influential and gray-haired senators were ready to accept the proposal of the victorious king, who was considered a living embodiment of Alexander the Great, but not Appius Claudius. On a stretcher, the blind elder was brought to the ambassadors of Pyrrhus, and Claudius pronounced firmly, "No peace. Rome always fights to victory." In the end, Pyrrhus was forced to admit defeat in the war and leave Italy.